What's going on? It's SFT, and we're talking about the Vikings today. And the Vikings have had an interesting season to say the least, especially the last couple of weeks. But we're going to start off with, the positives. And the positives is this defense. This defense has been playing sensational the last couple of weeks, even the entire season. They've had great outings against the Jaguars, which are a bad offense, obviously. But the Colts, another poor offense. But a decent outing against teams like the Jets, neutralizing them. Against the Packers in the first half. Obviously, they allowed a late surge in the second half, but they did an excellent job of really securing that win in the first half. Against the Texans, they put a number on them. Against the 49ers, they did their thing, and obviously against the Giants, just absolutely neutralizing them. A lot of things to be very happy about if you're the Vikings defense. You've had, some slip-ups, such as against the Rams, and I would say against the Lions, but the Lions are a very good offense. But outside of that, this team is consistently able to get stops, consistently able to keep their team in the game. So that's the thing I find the most fascinating about this Vikings defense. They keep their team in the game. You look at the game against the Lions, they got a big time fumble return for a touchdown, and then they got a stop, and they gave their offense back the ball. If Sam Darnold in that offense, simply got a first down, they would have won that football game. They just didn't get a first down, and we're going to get to the offense later on, but this defense is getting a really good job getting turnovers, getting consistent stops. This is the best part of this offense. I'm not going to say I'm shocked by this defense and their performance. However, it's been so impressive this season, and they have a couple of more teams they can really do a number to. I look forward to the game against the Cardinals and the Falcons to really see where this defense is, but we're going to get to something that's really been spiraling downwards, and that's their offense, man. Their offense has been shocking as of late. 12 points to the Jaguars, a struggling defense, I would say, and you made this defense look elite. You really made them look elite. You look at the game against the Colts, 0 points in the first half, absolutely struggling to move the football, struggling to run the ball against a poor run-stopping team, struggling to pass, and really just forcing the ball to Justin Jefferson, especially when it comes to that game against the Jaguars. 3 interceptions, I believe. Absolutely unacceptable. You look at the game against the Lions, I'd say their offense started to turn up later inside the game, but they really only put up 22 points against a solid Lions defense, but you want to put up more points. You have to eventually show out. One thing I'm not happy about this offense is I tend to find that this defense really does carry the offense a lot. This offense has been gifted with turnovers, has been gifted with a lot of short field, and I haven't been really that impressed with this offense, especially the last couple of weeks. This game against the Jaguars to me was one of the more shocking games. A win that's supposed to be easy, relatively easy. You passed for 24 for 38, 241, 3 interceptions. And these were 3 bad interceptions, man. These were 3 interceptions you had no business doing. You literally only scored 4 damn field goals. This is nothing to be proud of. You were losing this game going in to the 4th quarter, if you really think about it. And they only scored 1 touchdown. There's a lot of questions, obviously, towards this offense, but I want to talk about the regression of Sam Darnold. Really been alarming me as of late. You have a poor game against the Jaguars last week. You have a poor game on Sunday Night Football against the Colts in the first half especially. You don't have a good game against the Rams. Against the Lions, you were okay. I don't think he necessarily played good against the Lions. He did not play good against the Jets either. Against the Packers, that's where he came to life, but in the second half, they start to give up a little bit of points. But outside of that, we're looking at a couple of weeks where he just hasn't been playing that good, and they need to figure this out because your schedule continues with tough defenses. You have the Titans next week. Poor offense, yes. Your defense is going to do an excellent job getting you turnovers, getting you short field, but this is not a game that you should just walk into thinking you're going to win. No, you can potentially lose this game. These are the trap games. You're going against the Bears, which is a bad offense, but they have a really good defense. You have to put up at least a decent performance, man. The Cardinals, our defense trying to come together. The Falcons, our defense that's been pretty solid the last couple of weeks. You're going to be playing against the Bears again. The Seahawks have a decent defense. The Packers have a decent defense. The Lions, decent defense. You're not going against any bad defenses where you're confidently going to be getting over 30 points. If you're the head coach, you have to turn his head and make sure he's taking care of the football, he's making the right reads, he's being disciplined, he's not overwhelming himself. Because the last thing you want to see is a guy who clearly looks like he's regressing. I remember a couple of weeks ago, people were saying that he could push for the MVP. And now you're looking at these performances, man, and he's regressing. Teams are getting more film on him, they feel a lot more comfortable playing him, and they're clearly showing you that they have systems and they have certain things set in their defense to get the worst out of him, and especially alarming. And that's especially And that's really highlighted against a team like the damn Jaguars, holding you to 12 points with TJ Hawkinson, with Justin Jefferson, with Addison. Like, they have a quality, and even if you look at the running back position, like, the running back's really good. They have quality players all over this offense. This offense is literal talent. I believe one of their tackles got injured, so that could, stop them from running the football as effectively. But outside of that, that doesn't excuse your quarterback playing poor, man. He needs to figure it out, and that's something that's very alarming to me. Now, if you were to ask me, do I think that he's going to get better throughout the season? No. I'm not going to say that he's going to play poorly the rest of the season, but he's not going to be playing good. He's going to be average or at times below average. A lot of tough defenses. You're not going to play against teams where they're going to allow you to catch your groove. Like, there's not a lot of teams here. They're gonna, maybe the Bears. Because the Bears, man, they just find a way to be disappointing. But outside of that, a lot of teams that are going to be extremely difficult to play against. A lot of teams that really need a win. The Cardinals, the Falcons, the Packers pushing higher in this division. This team needs to figure it out together, and I want to finish it off with an interesting conversation. A lot of people hype up offensive coaches saying that they're excellent, or a lot of young quarterbacks, new quarterbacks need offensive coaches, but I tend to find that whenever you look at teams that have offensive coaches or offensive-minded coaches, their defenses are significantly better than their offenses, man. Such as the 49ers. I consistently look at the 49ers and say, they have been inconsistent this entire season with their offense, but their defense is really holding them down. You look at a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. This defense has really been holding down an offense that hasn't been performing at the level they should be performing at. You look at Sean McVay and the LA Rams. This defense has really been playing their butts off. And you look at a team like the Denver Broncos with Sean Payton, who is the offensive head coach. Their defense is by far the best aspect of their football team. And that includes the Titans with their new head coach. And you look at their defense, so much better than their offense. And one could say, it's hard to guarantee consistently or elite plays from an offense. But I always find it weird that whenever people hire head coaches for an offensive position, their offense is just average most of the time, man. It's a slightly above average. It's not an elite offense. Most of the elite offenses come from elite defensive coaches. We got to keep it real. Like, you look at Washington right now, who's really peaking as a really good offense. They have a defensive head coach who prioritizes defense. You have a team like the Baltimore Ravens. I think John Harbaugh is a defensive head coach. He should be, right? You look at a team like the Lions, another head coach that is more defensive-minded. Or, yes, he's not really play calling, but these are defensive-minded head coaches. You tend to find that offensive-minded head coaches' offenses are just average, and that's being very generous to them. Sometimes they're good. You hope that they're good, but the pillars of their team is typically the defense. It's a weird thing. Like, you bring them in so they can make your offense better, so they can make your offense at least like a top 10 offense or a top 5 offense. But you tend to find that your defense ends up being a top 7 to 8. And yes, somebody can say it's not sustainable scoring points consistently throughout the season. Absolutely, I agree with you. You have to get stops. You have to show up as a defense. But I tend to find that at least more defenses show up for offensive head coach teams. It's the irony of that coaching position. Like, you bring in a head coach to, liven up your offense, to make it a good to elite offense. And that rarely happens. It's hard to sustain a really good offense, but you can sustain a really good defense through development, through teaching, through excellent play calling. You can sustain a defense, but it's kind of interesting to see the irony of that. Like, you bring in a head coach, you expect the offense to get a lot better or to maximize your offense, but in reality, you probably are going to have a better defense than your offense, and that defense is going to sustain the ineptitude at times of your offense. You look at a team like the Vikings, it literally did that on Sunday. Like, just sustain the ineptitude from that offense. That's all I really got to say for this video. Just an interesting thought I had in my mind. Please like, subscribe, and take care.